Greetings, YouTube. I thought I'd try something a little different for this video. It deals with a very light role-playing game topic. Essentially, it's a role-playing game story. Yes, it's a gaming story. A humorous gaming story, which is why I'm telling you. Years ago, I ran a 3rd edition Gamma World role-playing game, heavily modified. I used a lot of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle After the Bomb setting stuff. I used those rules to create mutant animals because the world was populated, I was running was populated by almost exclusively mutant animals. There were very few mutant humans and almost no pure strain humans. In fact, the campaign didn't even take place on Earth. It took place on a colony planet that had been isolated because of an interstellar war and suffered an apocalyptic event. Yes, it was a silly premise, but it worked well. I enjoyed it, and I ripped off the TMNT universe heavily in their After the Bomb setting, dropping it into my world and changing it as I want. And I really enjoyed playing with the characters and with the players and pushing their buttons if I could. And so one night we were gaming, and the party is doing the classic we're going to camp for the night, because at the time they were traveling on foot. They didn't have any transportation at that point. Later they acquired numerous forms of transportation. They even laid their hands on a device that allowed them to teleport, very limited from one point to another. And I described how as they're setting up the camp, you know, the sun begins to set, and the trees that near them begin to glow blue. The leaves begin to glow a very pale blue. And as the sun begins to dip further, they start to produce this very low, asymmetric humming sound. And there's not a rhythm to it, it's not a beat, anything, it's just, there is some kind of pattern, but they have a hard time figuring out what it is, and it really begins to disturb the players. They're like, I don't know if I want my character sleeping next to a tree that glows blue and then hums. Now all of this is a setup. I should point this out, it's all a setup for me. So, paranoid characters, players, they pick up their camp in the dark, they move themselves in the dark to find another location far from the glowing, humming trees. They get lucky, they don't have any encounters along the way. They get their camp set up again, and they're feeling more secure because the environment around them is very ordinary. And I'm waiting. I'm praying that someone gives me the line I need. And finally, my ex-wife, before we had begun to date her in a serious manner, says, I wonder why the trees were humming. And in an absolute deadpan, straight-faced response, I said, because they didn't know the words. People began to actually throw dice at me at that point. I believe she might have hit me. It was completely utterly pointless. What it showed how you could use the setting in a post-apocalyptic game, the absurdity of it, to do something more absurd and set them up for a really bad pun.